One of the best scorers maybe that's at this group is a name that maybe not a lot of our viewers know about. It's Jared Cunningham from Oregon State, and Andy Katz has more on this story with his head coach.
All right, Craig, Jared Cunningham comes here sort of on the bubble of the first round. What does he have to prove to all these decision makers about what he can do?
Well, Andy, I think first and foremost, they're looking to see if he can be a full-time point guard in this league, or at least a secondary ball handler. So that's going to be really important for Jared to prove that he can do that, which I know he can do. Secondly, he's got to show him he can knock down a three-point shot, which I also know he can do. So I think with his athleticism, he's kind of earned his way to be in that consideration for the first round, and now he's got to come out and prove he can do the other stuff.
How do you think he'll fare better in this kind of environment with all 30 teams watching him, or when he goes individually to each team in sort of smaller workouts where it's a little more focused?
I think this being my first combine, I see everybody's nerves here. I would have thought he would do better in this kind of a crowd when he's being competitive against the other guys. So I think this is going to be good for him, because a lot of teams who are weren't thinking about him are going to get to see what he can do, and so I'm thinking this is a better environment for him.
So 2 years from now, how productive a player do you think Jared Cunningham can be in the NBA?
You know, with his defensive capabilities, he should be in the rotation. It's going to depend on what team he goes to, obviously, but I could see him sort of being in a rotation. I don't know. It depends on the team if he can be a starter, but his athleticism and his work ethic are going to get him on the court.
All right, Oregon State head coach Craig Robinson talking about Jared Cunningham, who's trying to fight his way into the first round. Back to you, Ryan.
All right, thanks a lot, Andy. Fran, I've always watching a lot of Jared Cunningham. Quickness, he lit up Texas earlier this season. Does he have the capability of getting in the back end of that first round?
Oh, I absolutely think so. What I love about this kid at 6'4" is he has the capability, if not being a full-time NBA point guard, certainly a secondary ball handler. Elite defensively. How about this, guys? He got to the foul line 270 times this year, which means he's attacking the basket. The most impressive and underrated thing about him that I saw on tape is that he has very good court vision, and he's a willing passer, even though he averaged 18 points a game.
How high you think he could go?
You know what? I think he can slip into the high teens, early 20s, but
Really?
just keep in mind, guys, Kenneth Faried went 22nd last year. He'd be a lottery pick. Isaiah Thomas certainly would be one of the top 15 picks if he were in last year's draft, and we did it over. So I like this kid. I like his upside.
And Fran's alluding to both the volatility of the draft and the depth of this draft, right? There is a lot of depth in this draft, and Cunningham's a great example. There are some NBA teams that are very, very high on him and see even a little Russell Westbrook sort of thing going on with him because of his elite athleticism, his ability to get into the lane, to get to the foul line, and needs to maybe work on his point guard skills a little bit, which we could probably still say that about Russell Westbrook even now, but his team's going to be in the NBA Finals, right? And so you're always looking for, when you have the size and the elite athletic ability and some of the things that he does, I just think this speaks to the depth of this draft. While there might not be a lot of superstars in this draft past Anthony Davis, when you start talking about guys that we're talking about bubble first rounders being guys that could be compared a little bit to Russell Westbrook and guys that really could be in the 18 or maybe even in the 30s, this is a pretty interesting draft.
No, I don't think he has the speed north to south like a Russell Westbrook, but that athletic ability that you were talking about, he's definitely comparable in those traits. And one of the things, just watching him do this shooting drill over here, 5 spots, 5 shots from each spot, he might have missed about maybe only 3 or 4 shots. I mean, he shot the ball lights out.
He's got great form, but he only shot 34% behind the arc. But in watching tape, guys, I'm telling you, he took a lot of end-of-clock shots for his team, challenge shots that they had to get up, and he was the guy that could go get his own shot. And I think that's why his percentage is going to grow, when he's not having to take those tough shots.
Also a West Coast, talent that isn't out there as much.
Well,
he played in the
JV.
radar.
He played in the JV league this year, in the Pac-12.
Yeah, Pac-12 was
That's called.
You could say it was strip mine and
This
talent
year.
the last few years of the lottery.